In war, brains can be just as powerful as brawn. Throughout history, the most brilliant military minds have won great battles not with overwhelming force, but with clever lies, fake armies, and elaborate tricks. Today, 6 of the most ingenious deceptions ever used in warfare. We have got an entire army made of inflatable rubber tanks, a dead man who fooled Hitler himself, and a double agent who was secretly decorated by both sides of the war at the very same time. These incredible tricks helped to change the course of history. Let's get into it. We begin in ancient times, in the year 217 BC, with one of history's greatest military commanders, Hannibal of Carthage. While campaigning in Italy, Hannibal and his entire army found themselves caught in a trap. The cautious Roman general Fabius had cornered them in a valley, blocking the only mountain pass out with thousands of his troops. Hannibal was outnumbered and surrounded, and to attack the pass directly would be suicide. So, under the cover of darkness, Hannibal devised a brilliant trick. He gathered around 2,000 oxen from his herds and tied bundles of wood and twigs to their horns. Then, in the dead of night, he had the wood set on fire and drove the panicked, stampeding cattle up the hillsides. From a distance, the Roman guards saw what looked like thousands of flaming torches, an entire army moving up the slopes. Believing that Hannibal's forces were trying to escape over the mountain, the Romans abandoned their position at the pass to give chase. And that was exactly what Hannibal wanted. While the Romans chased the burning cattle, he quietly marched his entire real army straight through the now undefended pass and escaped without losing a single man. Our next deception helped win a crucial battle in the deserts of North Africa. In 1942, the British Army, led by General Montgomery, was preparing for a massive attack against the German forces of Erwin Rommel at El Alamein in Egypt. To win, Montgomery needed the element of surprise, but he had to somehow hide an enormous army in the open, flat desert. The solution was an elaborate deception called Operation Bertram. The goal was to convince the Germans that the attack would come from the south, and later than it actually would. In the north, where the real attack was planned, they hid their tanks by covering them with simple canopies, making them look like harmless supply trucks from the air. Meanwhile, in the south, they did the exact opposite. They built an entire fake army out of wood and canvas with hundreds of dummy tanks and guns. They even constructed a fake water pipeline, slowly building it to convince the enemy the attack was still weeks away. The trick worked perfectly. When Montgomery finally launched his real attack in the north, the Germans were caught completely off guard, and the battle became a major turning point of the war. This next deception is so strange that it honestly sounds like fiction. In 1943, the Allies were about to invade the island of Sicily, but it was the obvious target, and they knew the Germans would have it heavily defended. So, British intelligence devised an audacious plan to convince the Germans that they were going to attack somewhere else entirely. The plan, called Operation Mincemeat, required a dead body. The British took the corpse of a homeless man who had recently died and gave him a brand new fake identity, a Royal Marines officer named Major William Martin. They dressed the body in a uniform and chained a briefcase to it, filled with fake secret documents. These documents revealed detailed plans for an Allied invasion of Greece instead of Sicily. Then a submarine carried the body to the coast of Spain and released it into the sea, where they knew it would wash ashore and be found by German spies. And the Germans took the bait completely. Convinced the attack would come in Greece, they moved many of their forces away from Sicily. So when the Allies invaded Sicily a short time later, the island was left far more vulnerable, saving countless Allied lives. Our next deception was carried out by a secret unit so unusual that it was kept classified for over 50 years. During World War II, the American Army created a special force, officially called the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. But they soon earned a much better nickname, the Ghost Army. This unit of around 1,100 men had a very strange mission. Their job was not to fight, but to deceive, and their main weapons were inflatable. The Ghost Army traveled across Europe, carrying a vast collection of life-sized inflatable rubber tanks, trucks, jeeps, and cannons. They would set them up in empty fields to create the illusion of a massive army where there was actually none at all. To complete the trick, they used powerful speakers mounted on trucks to broadcast recorded sounds of tanks and marching soldiers, noises that could reportedly be heard from up to 15 miles away. They even broadcast fake radio messages for the enemy to intercept. By impersonating much larger forces, this small army of artists and engineers tricked the Germans again and again, drawing their attention away from where the real attacks were actually coming. For this next trick, the Allies needed a body double for one of their most famous generals. In 1944, as the Allies secretly prepared for the D-Day invasion of France, they wanted to confuse the Germans about where and when the attack would happen. One of their most recognizable commanders was General Bernard Montgomery. So British intelligence had a clever idea. What if Montgomery was seen, far away from the real invasion site, right before the attack? They just needed to find someone who looked exactly like him. They found their man in an actor and soldier named Clifton James, who bore an absolutely uncanny resemblance to the general. James spent weeks carefully studying Montgomery's mannerisms, his voice, and his walk. There was just one small problem. James was missing a finger and he liked to drink and smoke, while the real Montgomery did neither. After perfecting his act, the fake Montgomery was flown to Gibraltar and North Africa, making very public appearances right where German spies would be sure to spot him. The Germans dutifully reported that Montgomery was far away from France, helping to convince them that the D-Day invasion was not yet about to begin. Our final deception may just be the most important spy story of the entire war. It is the tale of a Spanish man named Juan Pujol Garcia, who became the greatest double agent in history. Pujol hated the Nazis and desperately wanted to help the Allies. After being initially turned away by the British, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He somehow convinced Nazi Germany to hire him as one of their spies, but secretly he was working for the British, who gave him the code name Garbo. Now operating as a double agent, Garbo began feeding the Germans a steady stream of information. He invented an entire network of 27 fictional sub-agents, all completely made up, and sent the Germans hundreds of detailed reports. The Germans came to trust him completely, and so, in the lead-up to D-Day, Garbo delivered the single most important lie of the war. He convinced the German High Command that the main invasion would come at Calais, and that the landings in Normandy were just a diversion. Because they believed him, the Germans held back vast numbers of troops, waiting for an attack that would never come. He was so convincing that Garbo was secretly awarded a medal by the Germans, and another one by the British, becoming perhaps the only man ever decorated by both sides of the war. And there they are, 6 of the most ingenious deceptions in the entire history of warfare: an army of rubber tanks, a corpse carrying fake secrets, and a single spy who fooled an entire nation. These stories prove that sometimes the cleverest trick can be far more powerful than the largest weapon. If you enjoyed this one, then hit that subscribe button for more weird history every week. And tell me down in the comments which of these deceptions you thought was the most brilliant. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.